People, welcome. This is Hot Take Wrestling on a very special night. It is Thursday night. We had things to do yesterday, apologies. So we weren't on here last night doing the show. So we would be remiss if we didn't make it up to our good followers, our good supporters. So it's the KO and Y2J show tonight. It's me, the boy KG. KG, hold up 1 second. Let me get your intro before you talk to the people. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
It's the ginger whiskey assassin, the other KG. Hashtag y'all gotta chill.
KG, talk to him.
Greetings and salutations. This episode of Hot Take Wrestling is brought to you by the words of On Site, as in CM Punk on Monday. I do not think Seth Rollins expected him to charge the stage that fast. He was supposed to, but if you look at when Rollins came out, he looked like, oh shit. like look close. Oh man, that's all I got to say so far.
Hey man, it is officially WrestleMania season, man. So that means the unpredictable is here, and it's here to stay for the foreseeable future. So without that being said, let me go ahead and hit my own intro.
It's Big Oos, Old Man Logan, acknowledge him.
Now, usually Hot Take Podcast, Hot Take Wrestling is usually PG-13. Sometimes we have our rated R moments, but tonight, this episode, at least my portion of it, is sponsored by Menage a Trois Wine, okay? This is their Dulce edition, sweet red blend. I also have Menage a Trois Moscato in my cup right now, but the Dulce is what I'm going to finish up by the time we finish this episode. So, you see what I did there, potential sponsors? You too could be right here. Hey, your logo here. So let's talk turkey. Y'all hit us in the emails, hot take wrestling podcast at gmail.com. Or you can send it to me on the NMG podcast email, NMG, what is it? No Media Group at gmail.com. So, yeah. Okay. So, KG, we got a lot to cover, my brother. We got to recap Elimination Chamber. Everybody and their mama been talking about it. All the casual fans. This is one of those moments where wrestling is truly back. Like, I've seen so many people that are not like diehard day to day, every week watching it. You know what I mean? In the same capacity that we do. Talking about what took place with The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Travis Scott. They've been talking about CM Punk and Seth Rollins. They've been talking about Logan Paul. They've been talking about the obvious biggest heel turn since Hulk Hogan taking place at Elimination Chamber. So without further ado, KG, let me hit the music on your weekly recap, and we can do our due diligence here at Hot Take Wrestling to finally talk turkey on these things. So, uno momento.
And now, your week in review.
Floor is yours, KG.
All right, man. I'm just gonna say it. It was the turn of the century in a sense. If you really think about it, I think it was the route they needed to go with Cena going heel. The way they got there was so smooth. I have no idea what Travis Scott had to do with anything. He out there looking like the Dennis Rodman of WWE. I'm just so confused by this placement in there. But with that being said, obviously big ups to Bianca Belair becoming the first woman to win multiple Elimination Chamber matches. At least singles matches. I don't know if anybody's up. No, I think she's just, because Bayley's never won. She won a tag team, so she never won a singles one. So shout out to Bianca Belair for that. I thought both chamber matches came off really well in terms of the storylines that was told. You got Jay coming back. I knew she was going to attack one of them. I don't know why I didn't see Naomi's being a possibility, but Yeah, I mean, the crowd had no sympathy for Naomi. They was singing, nah, 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 hey, 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 goodbye. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? I don't know what they got the smoke for Naomi for.
That crowd was hot, man. That was a hot
Yeah,
crowd that night. They first off, and then on top of that, they booed the national anthem, which was
I
hilarious.
heard.
So it was just kind of like, yeah, it was a big deal. It was a lot going on. But continue, bro.
But yeah, KO and Sammy not surprisingly stole the show. I'll give Logan credit for that. You predicted that. I was on the fence. Like I said, I kept going back and forth. We did get the Vipers return, but that was I didn't really catch their stuff on the Indies, but I mean they never fail when they get enough time to cook. Obviously, my favorite match prior to that with those two was probably a Battleground 2016, so almost 10 years ago. I think Sammy had just got called up from NXT, and they were on the Monday Night Raw roster. But yeah, it's just perfect storytelling with everything where they both got their offense in, so it's like they both look like they're trying to end each other type thing. So while Sammy obviously looked worse for the wear at the end of the match, they both looked like worse for the wear at one point because KO going through multiple tables and the barbed wire chair being involved. There's perfect placement to set up Orton versus KO now at WrestleMania. I don't know where they go with Sammy now. We saw one card. I can't remember who to give credit to, but we did see one card predicting because Karrion Kross keeps trying to corrupt people. Lately, Sammy's been his main focus. You saw last Monday on Raw, he came up to AJ Styles, and AJ Styles wasn't having it. So, possibly Sammy versus Karrion Kross could be on the WrestleMania card. That would be a good spot for Kross, obviously. And Sammy is, he's had his WrestleMania moments the last few years. Main event at night one with KO winning the tag titles.
Right.
And then also last year knocking off Gunther and ending his all-time historic reign as Intercontinental Champion. So they don't necessarily have to be super high up on the card. Carol and Orton's one thing I've been looking forward to that we have not gotten yet in a full-on feud. And I think this is the perfect way to go because they both fit that heel persona better than they do as baby faces. I think KO was due though to get like some type of a heel push because it's been a while, obviously. They flip-flopping back and forth because they made him, they turned him heel when Kofi was champion 6 years ago, but it was still a WWE championship, but they really weren't putting Kofi up as high on the card as as an Orton type thing. He's more mid to upper mid card. So, and then obviously with the men's chamber, I thought all the storytelling was great. They set up potential WrestleMania feuds because if you think about it, the last few pay-per-views or premium live events, should I say, Damian Priest eliminated Drew McIntyre from the Rumble, and then he pinned him and eliminated him, from the chamber. And everybody kept letting their personal vendettas get the better of them in the chamber because Drew's sitting up there, not even going for the pin on scene. Obviously, that's the way it was booked, but still, it's like Claymore kicks him, and he's standing over just punching him instead of going for the pin. Right. So, and then he cost Damian Priest because, Claymore kicked him after he was eliminated. And then obviously with the aforementioned Logan Paul, we'll see if that leads to Mania or if they're going to do that on Raw because, they've been trying to make Raw feel more important. Hence the title change that happened a few days ago. So shout out, congratulations to Io Sky. Really caught me off guard. Some people were saying about the predictability thing. Oh, you fans complain about predictability and that happens. So I'm like, well, I mean, it's possibly a triple threat. I think this time fans complain about predictability because we wanted predictability. Because Bianca versus Rhea in the singles match in a major event is overdue. This is like 5 years in the making. Closer to 3 since they gotten called up. So, like, everything coming full circle. Because I remember when we went down to Nashville, Rhea got pulled because Bianca was the Raw Women's Champion at the time. And it was supposed to be Rhea versus Bianca. And then Rhea suffered an injury. So, closer to 3 years in the making because at that point they were both polished too because the last time they faced it a big event was TakeOver Portland as we have mentioned on previous episodes of this podcast. And with that though,
great match.
Yeah. But and then like it's just now they were both established stars 3 years ago. At the time Bianca was still on the rise type thing, and not that it didn't feel important, but we're talking like that could potentially be the co-main event type important now. I think that still in the placement of that card, they were close to being the co-main event. But don't quote me on. I don't know. Never mind. I think Broserweights versus Undisputed actually was the co-main event. I could believe that was the second to last
at
match
that takeover.
Yeah, because I remember Ciampa and Cole main evented, and that's when John Gargano turned heel.
Yeah.
But we're talking either night. not to discount Io Sky, but Bianca and Rhea were on the alternate cover of 2K24 last year. So it's like one of those things where I think people actually wanted predictability. I'm not sure if there was a big backlash because I have not looked at because I haven't logged in to see about the likes and dislikes of the video. Because I know you got to log in to see that now on YouTube. You can't just see that if you don't actually log into the YouTube site. But yeah, I thought Raw came out very well. Punk was throwing out pipe bombs, calling people ball frauds, and so see that he got 20 years hustling, loyalty, respect was bullshit. He told her to make a wish. He was on 10, man.
Yeah, man.
He told Seth Rollins Becky Lynch, come get your man.
that was like borderline. That was like borderline prime time CM Punk. Like he said, he said it. He was going to take it there. Like that was like him in his bag all the way in that promo. Like
no, for
he
sure.
was going there. Yeah.
Because a lot of people forget. I personally, I'm kind of a stand for Punk, whatever. That was one of the few times, when him and Rock feuded, I think he might have got the better of Rock.
Yeah.
When Punk was at the prime and his heel in 2013 leading up to the Rumble. I don't blame him for swinging for the fence because it's like that was his WrestleMania basically. Because he knew where he was going to be on that card.
Right.
Not that he didn't have a prominent spot, but more on the lines at the time, nobody thought it was possible to end Taker's streak. And the way he can book Punk going up into that, it's like, all right, now we know he's not going to win. They had him lose to Kane on an episode of Raw leading up to that. Right. I remember, if you remember, they had a no DQ match. So it was some type of chicanery that happened, but it's still like, all right, you going up against somebody that ain't never lost to WrestleMania and then you losing on the road to WrestleMania? Come on, bro. Make it make sense.
And wasn't it like Corby Kane he lost to?
No, because Paul Bearer had just passed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, no, Kane was still doing the Team Hell No thing with Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan. Got you.
But going back to present, I thought Raw was, like I said, I haven't seen a bad episode of Raw yet since they switched over to Netflix. Even prior to that, you could just tell that the presentation and the storylines are just improving. And then touch on AEW real quick. We'll preview this later, but two highlights for me was the contract signing between Swerve and Ricochet. He tried to stab him with the scissors again, and Swerve saw it coming and stabbed Ricochet with the scissors. Just left him looking stupid. And then MJF tried to set Heyman on fire. He said, you guys are hypocrites. And the security came out, separated them, and AEW tried to take it serious. We're not going to show a replay of what happened. It was sickening. I was like, come on, man. But I would say it was not remiss to say, but those are the biggest takeaways. It was still an enjoyable episode of Dynamite, but those are two things that stood out the most for me. I thought they could have did the build up. They could have given a little bit more time to Mariah May and Toni Storm. They had the little pre-recorded segment with Renee. Didn't last very long, only because that's a culmination of one of their better feuds over the last year outside of Swerve and Hangman. I'm trying to think that then they teased that Wheeler Yuta might turn babyface because Copeland didn't take him. He didn't eliminate him because everybody else from Death Riders was getting taken out. But I think they're planting that seed because he shook his hand. I think they're planting that seed that Wheeler isn't going to turn. Or is going to turn. He's just going to probably help Mox more than likely because I don't know who's going to take that title off Mox, but like I said, we'll get to this later. I don't think it'll be Copeland, though. I don't know who will be. I'm thinking Darby, and they're doing an underdog story. He makes the most sense because he kind of got screwed out of it in the first place because it was his number one contendership match that Moxley beat him for, and he had already earned that title shot against Bryan Danielson. So he was supposed to be the number.
No, go ahead, finish. He
was supposed to be the number one contender initially.
Okay.
And then he put it up on the line at Grand Slam last fall.
Right. Because I was going to ask, has Darby been off the television since that last attack?
They wrote him off. I wouldn't be mad at, but I also don't know. I'm just thinking about storyline wise. Maybe Jay White because he's super over. Obviously, I think he was the first Grand Slam champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling history, actually. Okay. So it's one of those things where you could go that route too. So I just don't think it'll be Copeland. Okay. Not saying it doesn't make sense, but I think more along the lines of if he's terrorizing the company, don't you need somebody that's kind of like the original to take that off of him? He's saying y'all don't even deserve to see this championship. And you don't understand what it means and all that. I just think it makes more sense for an original to take the title off Mox when it's time to take the title off of him personally.
I get that. I was gonna ask though, is there an original that's strong enough or stronger than say Adam Copeland? It's kind of crazy to have to call him that and not Edge, but
right. In terms of the acceptance of the fans, there's not a lot. That's an original. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody being the first time ever champion. I'm just sticking with Darby just because they constantly, call him, and not just because they're pushing a narrative. It's like real talk. Like he is kind of like the heart and soul of that company in terms of that underdog feeling where the original that they want to see succeed, that the fans that love Darby. I've never heard Darby get booed personally. There might have been somebody he's been in the ring with, like when Punk first got there, where he might have been up against another babyface, but I can't remember a time when he was placed against the heel and he was getting booed. The heel just might have been over two type thing. Like, well, when he was shooting MJF, wasn't that they were booing Darby. It's just, nowadays there's no, unless you're I'm trying to think somebody in there, unless you're a dirty dom, it's not like a heel that could just universally booed in the first place anymore.
Right.
Because you'll occasionally hear a pop for Gunther occasionally. Like when he came out this week.
Because even with the Darby thing, I want to say Punk got booed in that regard when they were having that. I think that was Punk's first match there, right?
Yeah, but they were in Chicago. I think I don't remember Punk getting booed then.
Not like a sea of boos, but it was Darby was still like the baby face of that. Like he wasn't the, even though this is a returning CM Punk, the fans were still very much behind.
Oh yeah,
Darby,
no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't
ever
think that's what I was saying. That's why part of the reason why he makes the most sense in my opinion. Other than the fact that they keep treating him like a crash test dummy too, they got to reward him for that.
Right. Well, that I kind of give them both the blame for that.
Yeah, I know. No.
Yeah. They definitely gotta balance that out a little bit better. Like I don't mind him doing that at times, but it cheapens it the more if we see that every Wednesday. If we see that on Collision, that's still on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
If we see it on Wednesday, we see it on Saturday, then we see it on pay-per-view. Like, when is it special? You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes that away from it.
For sure. And the only other person I would say maybe is Ospreay. There's plenty of people. He's the most over, I would say, obviously. I think, like, it's 100% certainty. Ospreay's the most over guy they have. I just think if that's the end game of the storyline, it just makes more sense for the original to take the title. But if it's not Copeland, it'll probably be Ospreay. If it's not Darby. I'm thinking it's going to be Darby, but if it's not, it'll probably be Ospreay.
The only reason I could see it possibly being Adam Copeland is because you still have, to my knowledge at least, Christian still has that championship contract, right?
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So if they want to finally have him cash that in, and, what better way to do it than Moxley dropping it to Adam Copeland, the whole team, just goes, attacks him, leaves him in a puddle of blood in the ring. Christian can run right out there, cash that contract in, and now he leaves out with the title. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have basically a three-way dance between the Christian, between the Adam Copeland, and between John Moxley for the championship again. And that's just writes a story within itself too. And I could see them going that particular route with that if they were going to do that. If only if they're going to have Copeland take the belt off John Moxley. Outside of that, I'm with you. I totally think storyline-wise, it makes way more sense for Darby to be the one to take off the title. But you could still do that Christian play, you know what I'm saying? If a Darby comes in and has his, match against Moxley and he takes the title off of him. So just all depends on how they want to do it, really and truthfully. But I would think that would kind of be the scenario that we would end up with, however that goes.
No, for sure. And then, SmackDown was just the build up to EC, so I ain't really felt a need to touch on. I don't think it's. Oh, the only thing crazy that happened is they are they're continuing to plant seeds for Jacob Fatu versus Solo at WrestleMania. Now he's pretending like this role's reversed. I think he's basically just slowly reeling him in like a fish, like on a hook type thing. Because this whole "I love you, Jacob" thing now, which is hilarious. But I definitely think they're building towards that. Because they don't fully have him as a babyface yet, anyway. That's why I think LA Knight won that triple threat. And the one he won, the way he won it was kind of sneaky, though. Jacob Fatu did the damage on Mello. Just snuck in and got the pinfall. So we'll definitely see where they go with that. And I think it was one other thing I was going to touch on that's kind of slipping my mind. Oh, yeah, and then they basically said we're going to get the response. We got to look forward to that. See Cody's response on Friday. We're going to get this. We're going to get the fired up Cody Rhodes we've been having since leading up to the Rumble, which is kind of what people have been asking for. Or are we going to get, I'm pretty sure we know the answer. We're going to get the fired up Cody Rhodes. We kind of had to because that was more heinous, honestly, than the whole KO thing. Or just, KO was, well, KO had a friendship type thing, but it's just, just as nefarious, if not worse type thing,
Yeah. All right. So to bring it back to WWE for a second, can we officially say that Raw is the B show and SmackDown is the A show? That's kind of where I've been sitting back, kind of looking. I'm kind of like, all right, Rock is making majority of his appearances now on SmackDown. So, the champ that everybody is prominently following is Cody Rhodes, which is the SmackDown champion. And while Raw is on Netflix, SmackDown is on USA Network, so it's with the Old Faithful. But the feeling is that, at least to me, SmackDown is the A show now. So
I think both shows are being, in terms of the way they're trying to present it, yeah, I would agree with that. From a standpoint of everything you just mentioned, and to piggyback off of that, they also have the most winningest woman ever choosing the SmackDown champion. Charlotte Flair. So you have to put that in that realm of for the casual fans and the people, and then the tag team division as well. They're paying way more attention to that. More
attention.
But specifically those things you mentioned, and like I said, the Charlotte Flair thing, her being the 14-time women's champion, choosing the SmackDown champion to go after at WrestleMania. A couple other factors too that I'm overlooking right now, but yeah, because the bloodline storyline too, still advancing. Like I said, it's still prominent. And then Roman's not officially on the show though, so I'm thinking he ends up on Raw. You did say they wanted Roman really bad, so that's the only reason it won't be eventually treated as the A show. Once Roman gets there, because obviously got a guy coming over who's main evented 9 WrestleManias, all-time record. I'm pretty sure he's going to end up being involved. I forgot to touch on that. It's supposed to be a steel cage match next Monday with Punk and Seth Rollins. So I think Roman shows up there for his return. And I think he does something, and that's how we get to the triple threat. I think he's going to try to spear Seth to somehow get in the cage. Because we said that possibly happened at Elimination Chamber. We were just mistaken, where Seth does the stomp after he's eliminated. It's just funny that, like I said, fans pay good money to cheer who they want, but Seth is coming off as the heel in this. As far as I'm concerned, it's like, dude, you got eliminated. You acting real petty the last 2 times you've been eliminated. That double stomp on Roman, then you curb stomp Punk. It's like, all right, now you blame him. He's Drew McIntyre. He just doesn't complain every week.
I gotta go back and check actually to see if he did a double stomp on Punk in the EC Chamber like he did to Roman at the Royal Rumble.
I just said he did the double stomp on Roman. I don't think he did a double stomp on.
I'm just saying I want to go back and check to see. Yeah.
I don't know. I still feel like he was trying to stomp both of them because I thought that they were kind of close together. I thought that was, and I thought he botched, and he had to get his balance. I don't know, but I'm not going to say it wasn't an intentional double stomp. I just thought he was supposed to stomp both of them at once so he could set up that triple threat to plant that seed without them brawling. Because I don't even know what the brawl was supposed to have. I think that Punk improvised that. Because, Punk had no reason to be throwing hands with Rollins. He'd eliminated Rollins.
Right.
So I think that's why I said I think there was an attempted double stomp. I'm still sticking like that because otherwise the whole brawl with Punk didn't even really add up at the Rumble at least. Because like I said, Punk eliminated him and Punk's the one that got up and started throwing hands.
Right.
So I don't know. But yeah,
I'll be honest. I because I thought they were kind of. I knew they had to if it was gonna be Roman, Seth, Punk at WrestleMania in a triple threat. I knew we had to get to it some kind of way, but we got the match on Raw. That was on when they debuted on Netflix, right? Except CM Punk versus Rollins. Mm-hmm. So we got the match there. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay. I didn't feel like the feud was necessarily over, but for now I thought it was over just because it was kind of like WrestleMania season. But fast forward, we go to Rumble. He eliminates him. He does the double stomp to Roman. Him and Punk are bickering back and forth. Then we get to EC Chamber. It's looking like Punk would be the victor at that particular point in time by the match. And then he goes ahead, boom, hits him with the curb stomp and costs, CM Punk the match, which I did see somebody point out. They said that kind of should have gave us a nod that something was going to take place with John Cena, because they said good old white meat babyface John Cena would have never took advantage of trying to get the W in that kind of regard, because now you're taking advantage of a downed guy, you know what I mean? As opposed to what he did at EC Chamber, which was when he went out here, put him in the STFU, and he proceeded to pass out and go from there, and he wins. So let's just we'll get to that in 2 seconds, but I really think, because that card you were alluding to earlier, it showed that, but also just to touch on the tag titles again before we move forward as far as WWE is concerned. I think if WWE is monitoring the way we know them to monitor, was it a good idea to try to split those titles again and, have top champions on SmackDown and Raw? Sure. But like you said, the titles that everybody is paying attention to are the tag titles on SmackDown. And until you get a team as hot as the Usos were, as hot as the New Day were, nobody's going to care about those titles being separate with the division as it is right now. I think they need to just go ahead and put those titles back together. Especially now with the women having mid-card championships, it just behooves them, I think, and it behooves the product to have one singular tag division where you can utilize all of these tag teams and everybody has equal opportunity, to have quality matches, and you don't necessarily have to use all of these, solo competitor-esque tag teams, just because you don't have anything for them in a singles capacity for that moment. I mean, you can still do that. That's the business, but I'm not a huge fan of that outside of like the Outsiders, outside of like Brothers of Destruction, or even maybe the 2-man power trip, but I would rather see the tag division flourishing with guys that are tag team champions, like tag teams. I don't necessarily want to see put together teams running the divisions like that no more. Like, I just don't care for it.
No, I'll co-sign it, and because and it's not to say that the War Raiders and the Creed Brothers didn't have a damn good match on Monday. It's just who's next in line. They're not really doing. You got the team that walked out with the tag titles last year is sitting up there being, a placeholder for Jey Uso now.
Yeah,
like what did they have to do with him and Gunther? Like, make it make sense.
Absolutely
Why they
nothing.
not going? Why they not going after the tag title?
Right.
Like, they were sent as a tag team, where they not. It wasn't like they just doing the whole Miz and Carmelo thing, where one of them gets into something. You could tell they're about to try to put them as a team, obviously.
Right.
But okay, that makes sense for them to still be kind of doing their thing, because they weren't moved over there as a team. Miz was moved over by himself on SmackDown. So it's okay because they only had the one tag team match together. So if they were to do something random like with Braun Strowman or somebody else, one of them was go, all right, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, the tag titles definitely didn't need to be split, only because they're not putting enough of an emphasis on there. Because I don't remember a tag team title match before the Royal Rumble. It was months. I'm talking about at least a half a year before they did a tag title match on a premium live event. Because they kept because we did the math. We were like, what's the last time you saw either tag title defended? And that makes it even worse. You got two sets of tag titles. You can't get that on a premium live event. And real quick, I'll be remiss not to give credit, a shout out to, because I was a little surprised at the start of that Rhea and Io match with two of the women that I consider like two of the top 5 workers in the women's division. It looked a little choppy the first 5 minutes. They got together to a degree, but on a positive note, got to give credit to Lyra Valkyria and Ivy Nile. I thought they had a pretty damn good match.
They did.
Yeah, they did. So I don't want to focus too much on the next. He wanted to focus, give them some spotlight because, two up and comers, obviously, where it's like, hold on.
And they definitely got some dog in them too. So it was definitely a solid match. It was definitely a solid match.
And it's like they're making that look like the actual men's Intercontinental title back in the day. Being the workhorse title type thing, where she's getting these, that Sheamus calling banger after banger, because her and Dakota Kai last week or a week or two had a pretty damn good match as well. So
yeah. And see, now that's one of those things where I it's going to sound petty. I'm not a huge Lyra fan.
Yeah.
In that regard, but I do like the opponents they got, the dance partners they've given her. I think that match definitely did wonders for Ivy Nile as far as raising her profile. I think they need to kind of continue that. If it's some kind of way to, at least in the storyline, have Ivy, have Dakota Kai, and have Lyra kind of as like the main components. I'd probably maybe add to that mixture. What's my girl's name? That was with Sonya Deville. Now that Sonya's gone, you got her and the Ace and Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark. I would love to see them inject her in there some kind of way and maybe get a female 4-way dance for the IC belt, and I think that would do wonders, for that belt as far as continuing to rise the status of that potential title, and getting it, like you said, to be like that workhorse title the way it was for the men's back in the day, for sure.
Well, I think that's a great idea for one, because although they've been presenting Liv as one of the top women in the company for the last almost year, give or take, they're not really lined up now, especially with this Jade Cargill thing. They don't really have a tag team lined up, so that's why another reason I was surprised that they went that route with putting the title on Io. But it's not to say they can't play hot potato, but they made it a thing. They said, all right, whoever wins this is going to WrestleMania. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to get a triple threat with Rhea being involved. But they dropped the ball because Damage Control, while they've been tag champions, you kind of need somebody that's already, like you spoke to, that's tagged together to make it a threat towards the champions. While they can appear on both shows, you don't really have any other tag teams right now lined up for Raquel and Liv. So I'm not sure if that means we're getting a call up anytime soon, or like I said, unless you go but you need a third team, because last time I checked, unless they do a reboot with Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, they're heels. I'm trying to think who's what really left, and the other team that's somewhat a team, but not really right now, because Chelsea's the U.S. champion. So you got her and Piper, but once again, two heels. They don't really have any other teams to set up unless they're going to go the route with because it's Kairi Sane injured again.
I think Kairi had a small injury. I'm not 100% sure. We'd have to fact check on that.
Okay. I was just gonna
Because
say
I
because you
don't
knew
know
her in
if
Dakota going after
yeah,
but I mean you kind of been there though.
yeah, been there, done that. And I would have much rather had seen Dakota maybe get a singles title as opposed to
Right.
touching the tag team title again.
Right. I'll copyright. I'll piggyback that. Copyright. Yeah. I mean, why isn't John Cena on the card? Copyright. Speaking of names that are copyrighted, even though um shouldn't be copyrighted, but yeah, that's another topic for another day.
You know what I was hoping to see though during that match or the return I thought that was going to happen during that match, because I was one of those people. I didn't think they were getting ready to take the title off of Rhea. I thought they were going to have a good match. You know what I mean? Her and Io, because they're capable of having such a thing. Like you said, they were kind of, that first couple 5 minutes it was kind of sketchy there, but they pulled it together. It seemed like they weren't on the same accord at first. But I thought Oscar may have came out, and I was really hoping to see maybe a turn where Oscar would have did the little green mist into EO's face,
Yeah.
and Rhea just capitalizing 1, 2, 3, and boom, we lead to Rhea Ripley versus Bianca finally, since like you said,
Right.
NXT what was it, Roadblock? I can't remember
Portland.
what it was, but in NXT Portland, Takeover Portland. So that's what I was thinking. At least it gave me that feeling. I just kind of was booking in my head. That's what I would have done, because I know Oscar's been somewhat active on social media. At least we haven't seen her
Yeah.
on WWE television in a while, but that's what I was hoping for, at least, because I
Yeah.
was like, oh man, that wouldn't be bad on the card. Oscar versus Io Sky. You could have made that either a night 1 or night 2 match, depending on how they want to do the card. But
Right.
obviously they didn't go that way. Congrats to Io. And I know they kind of did away with the whole instant rematch thing, but I'm wondering if they're gonna have Rhea try to go for the rematch clause, or either they do something in the storyline where they bring up the fact that the referee allowed Bianca to interfere and push Rhea back after she pushed
Yeah.
her.
Which should have
You know
been a
what I'm
DQ.
saying?
Yeah.
It should have been a disqualification right there. So I'm waiting. I'm very curious to see if they they bring that into the story some kind of way, or if they just let her go ahead and just do her rematch clause. And yeah, I'm getting my rematch at Mania.
Yeah.
So
Two things. I think one is just like it's one of those few instances where I think they got too many hands in the cookie jar. They could have just, as much as I like Roxanne Perez, they could have easily just gave EO that spot in the chamber. And like I said, nothing wrong with predictability. Just they should have just did Bianca and Rhea personally. That's what I would have. That's my sentiment about that. And then the Jade thing. That turn still would have been shocking, but I thought they should have held that off until WrestleMania and had her and Naomi go after the tag titles, where she could have just did a pump kick where it looked like Naomi was about to set up for the pin, and then she hits her with a pump kick, hits her with Jaded. I thought they could have did the turn then, only because, like I said, they really don't have anybody lined up. I know we still got about a month before WrestleMania 41. They don't have anybody else set up for a tag title match against Liv and Raquel right now. That's the only reason I think that turn was a little premature, although it came off great. I think they should have held it off until WrestleMania, personally.
I agree. Unless they're getting ready to give them a mega push. I know Sol Ruka and it is a Stephanie Vacura. Who what's the lady? I can't think of the chick's name. They got her tagging with an NXT right now.
Okay.
But they have her tagging with a lady down there, a wrestler down there. I can't think of her name. I have to look it up.
Okay.
But unless they're gonna do something like that, or maybe they got a team that's coming back, or that they signing from elsewhere, I'm definitely there with you. I'm not 100% sure or where they're going with that.
No, for sure.
Because as it stands now, okay, we had Jade attack Naomi. We still got to get some clarity there as well to see, where that's going. Why she attacked her versus attacking Bianca. And then, okay, does that put Jade? Because Jade got a huge pop off of that attack too. So it's I wouldn't say she's necessarily a heel now. But again, that could have just been an outliner, because that crowd was hot all night. Like they were on one that entire night. That was one of those hot crowds. Like You could definitely tell they was excited for Elimination Chamber. But for me personally, when she did that, I didn't know, like, you know, I didn't think of Jade as a heel in that moment.
No.
You know what I mean? But I didn't necessarily think of Naomi. I kind of thought of Naomi just kind of being a casualty, you know what I mean, as opposed to being like the quote unquote heel responsible for the attack. So
two things. One, Naomi's face looked concerned when she came out. So she didn't look like, yeah, she about to get her. So either Naomi is going to be revealed as the attacker, or Jade doesn't know who attacked her, and she's angry because Naomi just slid in like nothing happened, and now I'm replacing you.
Just capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be that too.
And they're gonna reveal later on who attacked her. She probably just gonna say, I don't know who attacked me, but you had no problem taking my spot.
Right. So it looked like you benefited from me getting that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Totally. I'm trying to find the young lady's name that Saul Ruka has been tagging with. Oh, here we go. Zaria.
Okay.
She's been tagging with Zaria. So I don't know if they're necessarily ready to be prime time and go for that championship per se. It's the women tag titles, but could be a possibility, where they just looking to bring up another valuable team that could be part of WrestleMania that isn't the norm. But like you said, you could do Shayna Baszler, you could do Zoe Stark. I wouldn't be mad at that. That might have been another reason why they changed Ricky Stark name to Ricky Saint too. You already had a Stark there. You had Zoe Stark. But yeah, man. That being said, we're gonna go ahead and hit the heated round table because we got to talk about the slap heard around the world. The slap that's basically had a lot of casual fans, a lot of people that probably haven't tuned into wrestling in quite some time, just tuning in and saying their thoughts. Because I looked on social media and I was just kind of like, yeah, like wrestling is back, and it's back in a major fashion because people have never, talked about it like this pretty much since the Stone Cold and Rock and Triple H days, where they were around and prevalent and giving us they version of a SmackDown and Raw back. So let's go ahead, man. Let's hit this heated round table.
Ooh, the round table's getting heated. Heated round table.
All right, KG. So this is my gripe with Dwayne Final Boss Johnson. Look at it. Look at it. What the hell is up with him and these bell bottoms? Like every time he comes out as the final boss at a PLE, he got these damn bell bottoms on, and it's just kind of like OMG Rock. Like, what's going on, bro?
Say Drake.
Right. Like his bell bottoms and coming back in a major way. Like, yeah, because Kendrick had him on at the Super Bowl. Like, I don't know.
Well, his was by design. It was something about like, cause his whole thing was about black culture. So the bell bottoms was a thing in the music industry and all that in black culture during like the late 70s and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of rock, no, piggybacking off of that, got it right this time. When I did this, when Punk did it, it's like, all right, he's probably hinting that too. It's like, all right, man, you telling the fans you feeling the vibes, but you shouldn't care what they thinking. Well, why are you getting goosebumps from your entrance if you're supposed to be the bad guy?
Right.
Every time.
Rock he's just doing what the hell he wants to do, bro. Like, I get it. It's like, bro, I get it, Rock. You got $50 million worth of stock in TKO. I get it. You're the final boss. I think this is kind of like his iteration of Mr. McMahon bad guy gimmick. He's just putting his spin on it. That's kind of how I look at it. This is, okay, now Cena is corporation champ, or will be, you know what I mean? So he's just kind of putting his tune on it, his turn on it, his spin on it, however you want to say it. But Travis Scott's there, and I know you said it earlier, like, man, what was Travis even doing there? I know a lot of people was saying that. A lot of memes came out over the past couple of days. As far as I know, I think it was reported he has some type of deal with WWE where he's producing entrance music, or music for the PLEs or something to that extent, licensing music. So that's why he was there. I know at a like a live show, Triple H gave him that championship belt that he came out there with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, to kind of announce the pairing had officially taken place with WWE and Travis Scott. But it was kind of a weird moment, man. Like,
it's so random.
That whole first off, Rocky even saying "I want your soul," that was weird in itself. That didn't do anybody any favors, because it just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, I don't know where he's going with this, but all right. And that led to us making fun of it, calling it the Mortal Kombat stuff, which is what it was. It's like, okay, Rock Shang Tsung now, but
Soul Snatcher.
then you got Travis Scott, who I didn't know he slapped Cody that hard, for one. But once I saw, like, I saw he hit him, but I didn't see that angle. So once I saw the other angle where it was like right there, it's like, bow, like, yo, he smacked the crap out of Cody. I was like, holy shit. Like, it was like, yeah, that was quite the slap. I'm like, Cody totally got to get some get back from that. But
did it to Cody Raheem.
Man, they took back the invitation to the barbecue. That's what that slap did. So KG, I do want to ask you, because I know this turn, it got compared to this almost instantaneously, and that was the Hulk Hogan heel turn. That was at Bash at the Beach, right?
Yeah.
Almost 25 to like 30 years ago.
29 years ago. I think it was
1996. Okay, so yeah, close to 30 years ago. Close to 30 years ago. We almost, saw it 30 years almost on the head. John Cena, who has been the Boy Scout, he's been the white meat babyface of this generation, and since because I never looked at Stone Cold. Stone Cold was a good guy, but he was too aggressive. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't Steve Rogers, if you will. Steve Rogers being Captain America. John Cena was very much that since Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? All he had to say was eat your vitamins, and yeah, it would have been Hulk Hogan all over again.
Well, that was though. I saw loyalty, respect.
That part. So I just gonna put it out there, KG. Now we at the heated round table. We're gonna say A, Hulk Hogan, Bash at the Beach heel turn. B, John Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber. Now, a lot of people, I don't think it's necessarily fair to compare and say which is better, because this literally just happened, and we literally got a tremendous run of Hollywood Hulk Hogan during that time period. Cena literally was supposed to be the end of his run. I don't know if this even changes any of that. Does he now extend maybe his time, and it's no longer 10 months I think is left? Or does it mean now possibly we could see him go for maybe a year or two as he's made this heel turn? Like what are some of your thoughts? What was your reaction when you saw him kick Cody in the in the people's shoes, and basically agreed to sell his soul to The Rock to get that opportunity to become champion?
Two things. One, what's interesting about the Hogan heel turn, some people don't know about, that was not even supposed to be Hulk Hogan who got that spot.
You want to tell them who it is, just for the people that may not know?
It was supposed to be Sting. It was supposed to be the Stinger. But that would have made less of an impact. Still would have been shocking. Tell you what, that would have made the impact of what happened with John Cena. If that was Sting, like, yeah, it would have been huge. But the John Cena thing, to answer your question, I think Hogan's needed to happen. Because if you go back to his WWF days, listen to that pop when Undertaker became the youngest WWF champion ever. When he heel Undertaker too. That was a pop when he beat Hogan for that title. And Cena, this is 10 years too late as far as I'm concerned. There would have been more of an impact if he did that to Daniel Bryan after WrestleMania 30. Not right away, but had hypothetically, because the plan was basically what Brock Lesnar did to John Cena SummerSlam 2014. He was supposed to do to Daniel Bryan.
Right.
But had they drawn that out, and Seth hadn't have been, the what were they? Oh, the Authority. If he hadn't been their guy, that would have made way more of an impact. Was it impactful still? Absolutely. Being idiots and living on rocks, say it wasn't. Ironically.
Right.
But I think Hogan's just meant more because it needed to happen. And Hogan, while Hulkamania is long and gone, he still was very relevant in the wrestling. It's not the scene is not, but that company was built around Hogan at that time to a degree. This company isn't built around Cena anymore. It's still shocking and it still means a lot. But I just think impactfully, I just think that's why I would say Hogan's made more of an impact. But we also, like you said, got to give this time to see how deep down the rabbit hole this turn goes in terms of Cena's commitment to it. Because I don't think we're getting no thugonomics. I think we're getting something else. Definitely not be coming out with the bright colors anymore. He'll probably get rid of the jorts too. But or he'll just wear black or something like that, black jorts. But I just think we gotta give time to cook. But I think immediately first reaction, Hogan's a bit more because of those reasons.
I completely agree. What I will add to that is it isn't a fair comparison as well, because Hogan was the epitome of what a babyface was during that time in wrestling. He was the archetype. Like that was what you wanted your babyface to look like. That was what the reaction from fans you wanted your babyface to receive. Like, he was the prototype to, not pun intended. But so that heel turn from Hogan, while it could have been Stinger, I definitely think the decision to switch it over to Hogan was the right decision because of the impact that it had. And it literally transcended. And to this day, while a lot of us, feel how we feel about Hogan present day for what has happened with him outside of the ring, and that isn't necessarily Hulk Hogan, it's Terry Bollea. What that did for the character of Hulk Hogan, in wrestling, it basically prolonged that career. I'd say maybe another 10 plus years as a result of it. You know what I mean? Because he definitely couldn't have went another 10 years trying to be a babyface. And his impact wasn't hitting the way it used to.
No, right, because he was getting booed in WCW at the time too. They talked about that. That's part of the reason why they switched over and made it him instead of Sting. Because I think he was. I think he might have cut a promo or something. I can't remember because I was not heavy into WCW. I do remember leading up to it though. They were saying that Hogan was starting to get booed on WCW programming at times. And then one more thing, and I'll let you go back. Another reason why, like I said, not just to WCW, was still, with that being said, he was still a perennial fixture of that company. Cena's only had one WrestleMania match, like a real WrestleMania match. I know they did that 2-3 minute match with Taker at 34. But Cena's only had like one legit singles match at WrestleMania in the last like 10 years. So that can just tell you why the company's not built around him anymore. So it's still shocking, but that's why another reason the match against Austin Theory 2 years ago. That's the only singles match he's had in WrestleMania in the last 10 years. Like a real one. Like I said, the Taker thing counts in the books or whatever. I don't, that wasn't. Right. That was just a spur of the moment thing. That like, why isn't John Cena card? Literally, I said that 10 minutes ago. Yeah, that's literally what happened. Well, put Cena on the card.
Yeah. And to touch on Cena now being a heel, I know a lot of people kind of felt like that meant the Dr. Thugonomics Cena was coming back. And people have to realize, like, that wouldn't make him a heel if he brought that back. I truly feel like you're gonna see Cena in ring gear now. I think you're gonna get Cena in that prototype,
Yeah, that's
as
what I was saying. Something like that.
type of get up. I don't think, because you have to basically strip away everything that made him that last Boy Scout
Right.
John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You have to strip all of that away now. So what do? You present him as just that, the prototype. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I am. That's who I am to this business. I am the prototype that built what Cody's doing right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I know a lot of us have wanted to see Cody go on this Homelander run, but I said it in our community chat, and I've said it on social media too. I said, yo, like, all of us have been saying Cody was Homelander. Like, nah, that was John Cena all along. And
Mm-hmm.
us over the months, we've kind of alluded to Cena Cody being the route that they were going to go for WrestleMania all along, but it was always, yo, do you do face versus face? We know it's kind of a changing of the guard of sorts, even if, let's just say, because I'm one of those people, I do not think Cody will take the championship home with him at the end of Mania. I do think Cody's going to lose it now.
Yeah, I think he kind of has to at this point. There's.
Yeah.
Go ahead, though. I'll show you why after.
Okay, but he's been champion close to a year now.
Yeah.
So he's had it for a year. He's going on this Rocky-esque role of success. I that's why I continue to say Cody's title reign is Rocky right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a betting man, not to say that John Cena's Clubber Lang, but Clubber Lang beat the dog crap out of Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? At the beginning of Rocky Part 3. Mickey died, at that match, at that fight, excuse me. And Rocky had to go back and train with Apollo Creed to get that eye of the tiger back, to get that hunger back. Cody been out here kissing babies and taking pictures and shaking hands, being the champion that the company needed after having the tribal chief for 3.5 years, basically, smashing, stacking, and pinning them. You know what I mean? Doing things his way. So I definitely think Cody won't retain at Mania. I do think if Cena takes this title away from Cody, I don't necessarily think Cody's going to be the guy to dethrone him. I do think what we may see take place down the line, if Cena's going to truly try to keep this just to 2025 and just finish out the year, I do think he'll kind of be somewhat of in a Brock Lesnar type of schedule as champion, where Brock didn't necessarily defend it every single pay-per-view. I don't know if they'll necessarily have him defend when he chooses, but it'll probably be, I'm defending at every pay-per-view, but I'm not appearing on television every other week, every week. I don't think he's gonna do that. If the plan is to still stick to the plan of this being it, truly being it,
right?
And me, you know what I mean. But it was definitely a moment. I would say Hogan's turn is still the turn, you know what I mean. But I will say this John Cena turn is number 2. It's only number 2 to that. There's other turns that you could bring. You could mention Shawn Michaels turning on Marty Jannetty, to become the Heartbreak Kid, that we began anew. That's one of them. Stone Cold, when he joined Vince McMahon. The turn when Bret Hart, that was what WrestleMania 13 when they basically the double turn. So there's other turns that you can mention in that capacity. But I do think the magnitude of the turn is still very much relevant because Cena has been the last Boy Scout. Like, if they didn't cast Chris Evans, Cena definitely should have been Captain America. You know what I mean? So I do think, and then the reactions you saw, like parents uploading, kids were crying. You know what I'm saying? Like these were real reactions. These kids were crying, like bawling, crying, like they did not like that their hero. And they said Cena had just did a Make-A-Wish appearance prior to the match. So it was one for the books, man.
I hope that child was not in attendance.
Man,
or it might have been that child. They did catch at least one in attendance. Looking like
I don't know if it was the one in attendance, but I definitely know they said it. But it makes sense for it to be the one that was in attendance because they said
the one they put on camera. Should I say?
Yeah,
there were several. Obviously several in attendance.
Yeah.
But.
So it was, but I definitely do think it shook the wrestling world as we knew it. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan, man, and it's a lot of eyeballs on wrestling again now. I don't think we're going to see a claymation celebrity death match come back. Nah. Who knows though at this point, because it's hot as fish grease again, man. I would definitely put this era up against Attitude Era right now in terms of the interest, in the terms of the viewing and just people overall talking about wrestling again.
Well, yeah, and then to piggyback off the point where I think co-sign that Cody's not leaving with the championship either. It's just one of those things. It's kind of like last year. I wasn't committed to it being a lock, but I said, okay, if it's not Cody, then who's taking the title off Roman? If it's not Cena, excuse me, who's taking the title off Cody? And nobody else really lined up that makes sense. Because even if they didn't do the angle with Solo, let's say they held off, you're still kind of going back to the bloodline at the end of the day. So that's why you can't say Solo. I'm just saying hypothetically, it's Solo now they had a title shot yet.
Right.
It wasn't gonna be him. And there's nobody else right now. I know they just moved Drew to SmackDown, but that wouldn't have the same impact if he's the one to take the title off Cody. And say down the line he want to get a legit world title run again. Because that's one he never did get it as a heel for for more than for like the actual run, not somebody cashes in on him after he wins it. Nobody else makes sense as a heel right now to get that title.
I think it's gonna be a while, man. And here's a hot take, man. I know some people may not like it. I'm not gonna like it. I don't even like that I'm having this thought. But I'm gonna say it anyway. I think Jey Uso is gonna be a transitional champion.
I could see that. Only thing is, on Raw, do you turn someone? Because how many heels are on Raw that's really in that position? Unless you put it on Logan Paul, unless that's what you're thinking.
Not necessarily Logan
or go back
Paul.
to Gunther.
I'm thinking maybe go back to Gunther. If it doesn't go back to Gunther, you still have the CM Punk there that still has to have his glory moment before he rides off into the sunset. You still have the Roman factor there.
Well, I think Punk's whole thing was the main event. Not to discredit your take on him being the person to take it off of him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to turn Punk anytime soon. I don't think that'd be a good look if Punk's going to take the title off of him. Because whoever takes the title off, Jay going to probably be getting booed more than likely. And then Jay is just too over. So and I can see it being Logan Paul, honestly.
If not Logan Paul, for me per se, I'm thinking maybe Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins is definitely
that line.
It up. Yeah. So it would have to be somebody who's gonna draw and that is drawing a massive amount of heat.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if I necessarily want that person to be Logan Paul, because I'll be honest, even if Logan Paul does touch it, it could be a hot potato scenario too, where he just catches Jay slipping and boom, you know what I mean? He gets the title for, until the next PLE. But I don't think Jay will have like a full, 3-month, 4-month run with the title where, you know what I mean? It's uninterrupted. But and that's no dig at him.
Yeah.
That's no dig at his ability. I get that feeling. Because I even had the thought, I said, What if they kind of do something similar to what they did with Cody, where what if he doesn't win? What if Gunther retains?
They could go that route. I think a lot of people would be disappointed, but at the same time, as the point I was making, I think a week or two ago, I don't think you want to make a habit of people having their WrestleMania moments against Gunther because he just did that last year with Sammy.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I started to think like that, because I'm like, all right, well Gunther still got to get his moments in too. Like, you know, like
right,
him just carrying the title for a significant amount of time. That's a moment in itself. But
right,
yeah, I'm sure he'd like to retain at Mania as well. You know,
right, because outside of because to me there was 3 matches between night 1 and night 2 2 years ago that I would say was the best match on either night. It was a toss-up between Charlotte and Rhea, the Usos versus KO and Sammy, and then that triple threat with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew. So he has retained, but I don't think you want to make it a habit. Like I said, 2 years in a row. I'm not saying you can't afford to lose 2 years in a row at Mania, but losing the championship 2 years in a row and then making another star, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think one other person I did not mention, I don't know why I didn't think of this, and it would make total sense too for either one of them. Who else gets a lot of heat? Dirty Dom. So I think either him or Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank and they cash in on Jay. If Jay walks out with the championship.
Yeah.
So to your point, he won't get a long. I don't think that he necessarily needs a super long run because the whole idea is for the babyface to be chasing the championship. Yeah, and we just saw that. You just mentioned Cody's coming up on 365 days.
Yeah.
He'll surpass 365 actually because Mania last year was the first Sunday in April, and this year it's the third Sunday in April.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, it's the second Sunday in April. My fault. I think it was April 8th, but still.
No. Oh, you talking about last year? Yeah, because I was gonna say this year
it's
it's 19th and 20th. Yeah.
Maybe RVD on. I'm just joking. But yeah, the point is, we're gonna say, but it's almost a full 2 weeks after last year, so yeah, it'll be over 365 days going into WrestleMania 41. So yeah, I'll definitely see where you're coming from with that because it is everybody don't need to have these historic runs every time they touch a championship because then that means less too because then it's like, all right, you know, almost like seeing kind of what your point was about the Derby thing. If I'm gonna see this with every time someone touches the championship, I need some, you know, we need someone to we don't want it going back to 2017 though. At that same time, because what is that a span of after when Cena dropped it to Bray Wyatt in the Chamber, then they went down just a stretch of just champion after champion. I don't know. I know starting with AJ dropping it to Cena actually, because Cena only kept it when he tied Ric Flair. Cena only kept it about a month because Chamber was about a month after Royal Rumble, as it always is. Then Bray Wyatt only kept it a month because he dropped it to Orton. Then Orton dropped it to Jinder Mahal. So that was a stretch. They went through 3, 4, 5 champions in the span of like 4 months.
Yeah.
Because I know Jinder kept it about 6 months after that.
I was getting ready to say, Jinder had about
it for the 1.3 billion.
Yeah. The great Maharaja. Don't hinder Jinder wherever he's at now. I think the last time I heard he was in he had did something or did an appearance in GCW.
Okay.
But yeah. But that being said, man, only
getting
thing
that
left.
light bulb money.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We got AEW Revolution. You said that's this Saturday or this Sunday?
This Sunday.
Okay, so they're gonna do this old school Sunday pay-per-view. So we need to do our predictions for that particular show. It looks like it's gonna be 6 title matches for this event.
Ooh.
So all right, man, let me go to the matches they got lined up for Revolution 2025. And KG, we're gonna start with. I'm gonna just do it from this list they got here. I don't know if this is the. I highly doubt this is how it happened actually, but
no.
All right, they got
put it at the top to whatever.
So John Moxley versus Adam Copeland for the AEW World Championship.
Mox.
Much as I wouldn't mind seeing Cope grab that Joker, I do think this is a moment for Moxley to retain, especially if you're committed to that storyline and you want to see that storyline develop. You know what I mean, and really give us like a what's the end, what's the end game in this whole thing,
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Moxley as well on that one. Tony Storm versus Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship.
See, now I am a little torn. We were just talking about hot potato or changing titles back and forth. I'm gonna say Tony. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll stick with Tony.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you there as well. But shout out to Mariah May. Let's see. Konosuke. Did I say that right?
Konosuke Takeshita. I struggle with it too.
There we go. Okay. Konosuke Takeshita versus Kenny Omega for the AEW International Championship.
All right, this is the one I actually am most torn about because they want Takeshita to be obviously that dude. They're protecting him really well. Every time, I think he's been pinned clean. I don't know when, probably since that match against Ospreay last year. I can't remember. Screw it, Omega.
I'm gonna say Takeshita. One more time. Takeshita. I'm gonna say Takeshita. Just for shits and giggles, because we can't just keep agreeing.
No, I just was torn only because Kenny's already kind of made him a star to a degree. Because he lost twice to him in the span of 6 days, almost about a year and a half ago, at All In 2023, and then he lost to him at All Out in Chicago in 2023. It's just, I mean, he could go for the trifecta.
Yeah,
I'm just leaning towards Omega because, you know what? Yeah, I have no rhyme or reason. I just think they want the comeback story to come full circle. No, scratch that. I'll switch it over to Takeshita, and you'll see why later.
Okay. All right. Kazuchika Okada versus Brody King for the AEW Continental Championship.
Okada, and that's what I was about to get to. They had one of the biggest rivalries in the last 15 years in New Japan. I think that's who he takes the title off of because they had that little stare down. I think he's going to take his title eventually because Okada, I don't think has been pinned at all yet since he's come in AEW, and he said he's a new bout machine now. So they both kind of been claiming that, him and Takeshita, but I think there's more of a backstory there that might mean more for him to take that title.
Okay.
I don't know. I could be wrong though.
Man, I like Brody King. I really like Brody King. I just don't see it right now.
Yeah.
He looks like to me more so of a TNT champion.
I can see that too.
You know what I mean?
Eventually.
Eventually. So I'm gonna go with Okada as well for that match. Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe for the TBS Championship.
The CEO.
Yeah, I don't think Mercedes' reign is over. Not just yet. I'm gonna go with her as well. All right, here we go. My boys, the Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners for the AEW World Tag Team Championship.
You better run out of the damn ring and Hurt Syndicate.
Hurt Syndicate for the W. Yes,
no,
sir.
they're entertaining. I like them, but nah, it's not their time. Not against that team. It was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet. No, number one contender for AEW World Championship.
Swerve, and because that's part of the reason why I picked Mox, so I knew this match was on the card. I don't think they've had a full-on feud. They have had, I want to say they matched up in that tournament last year, the Continental Classic tournament. But now it's like they both are. At the other time, Swerve was still on the rise, and Mox was kind of always in the upper mid-card. But it's like now they're both kind of at peak position. So I think this is a feud that kind of needs to happen. So that's what I'm picking Swerve.
And the kind of circle back And it kind of circle back around to what we were saying earlier about it needing to be a particular original. I know Swerve isn't an AEW original, but close enough in this particular instance. I wouldn't mind him necessarily being the person to dethrone John Moxley either, and to have a feud with him. So I am going to go with Swerve Strickland in this particular match for the number one contendership. From there, we're going to go to Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher in a steel cage match.
Second match that I'm talking about.
It's a good lineup so far.
It is. I'll go with Fletcher only because it's like they really are pushing this down Kyle's family thing. And I guess it would make sense to come full circle to justify him turning his back on his two cash cows in Omega and Ospreay if his other two new cash cows, Jessica and Fletcher, get the W's.
Exactly. I'm there with you. I kind of want to pick Fletcher, but I'm gonna go with Ospreay in this one. MJF versus Hangman Page.
Damn, I keep lying to myself. I keep saying I'm torn. Both former AEW World Champions. One's the longest running. Mm-hmm. Hangman's due for a win. They don't. It seems like TK keeps being undecided what he wants to do with him.
Yeah.
As we said before, he even though the match was unsanctioned at All Out 2024, he did win the last match on that card. But then he also booked him to lose 2 pay-per-views in a row to Jay White. I'm gonna go Hangman only because of your theory of who is looking weaker going into the pay-per-view, which is actually a good theory that you came up with years ago.
Believe in the Swerve.
Yeah.
All right. I'm in agreement with you there. You always have to believe in the Swerve, man. I'm going to go with Hangman Page for that W. And then finally, they got here the 0 Hour match. Big Boom, AJ, Orange Cassidy, and Mark Briscoe versus Eminem Collection.
Orange Cassidy's team.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, not to disrespect Mark on the World Ring of Honor champion. It's just that other dude too. That's that hokey stuff that TK occasionally does. I don't think he wants him losing that Doom guy, whoever. I've seen clips, and yeah, literally that's because that's no business near the pay per view. So that's why that's on the 0 hour.
Yeah, and
it's kind of doing Orange and Mark Briscoe a disservice, but that's not it.
Definitely. Those guys should definitely never be on the 0 hour of anybody's show.
At least not with that too. With that specific partner, like it'd be different if it was one of those things where it's a piggyback. What you said, no, not on the 0 hour at all. But if they're going to do that, that shouldn't be their partner. Like, I get that people think that Orange Cassidy's gimmick is hokey at times too, but he's literally been positioned. He's one of the most winningest singles competitors in the history of their company.
Yeah.
So
he's a good hand to have too, man. He's one of those guys
that they got this man. That they basically this might as well be on AEW Dark. I don't even know if that's the thing.
Well, the AEW 0 hour is going to live stream and begin at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, and the pay-per-view is set to begin at 8 p.m. And that should be on pay-per-view. I think they have an agreement with HBO Max.
They actually said Prime as well, Amazon Prime.
Is it Prime? Now, I don't know if it's free on Prime. I think
I don't think so either. I think you still got to buy it. Yeah. That would be nice, though.
Yeah, but I do think you're supposed to be able to see it on Max with no problem if you have a Max subscription. So, everybody, I implore you to make sure you watch AEW Revolution this Sunday. Very stacked card. Should be a great time. They're up against the Elimination Chamber that had a great card. Like that card was one of those cards for WWE, that did not miss and delivered with every single match they had on there that night. So with that being said, man, is it any last words, thoughts you want to get out there, KG, before we get out of here?
Um, Procrastination, disloyalty, disrespect.
Ah. Oh man. All right, people. Well, you guys can always make sure to follow us on TikTok at Hot Take Wrestling. You can follow us on Instagram at Hot Take Wrestling, Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter. They're going by X now, I believe, at Wrestling Take, Twitch, Hot Take Wrestling Podcast, and of course, we're on YouTube at NMG TV. So I implore you all to make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Hot Take Wrestling is still here, baby. Okay, so there we are. This is the KO and Y2J show. Me and KG held it down as we always do. Our brothers had things going on this week. Prayers and thoughts as always to our boys. Not gonna put personal business out there on the broadcast, but
I only
prayers to our
love
boy
HH.
Phil. Only love HH. Prayers to my boy Phil and the wise man, him and his family. Ill Will, Willie Uso, King of the Black Road, mostly known as on Instagram. Get well soon, amigo. He said he's gonna be back in 2 weeks, so hopefully he's gonna be healthy enough and ready to come back and give us his thoughts on this thing called wrestling that we all love. All right. As always, salute to our boy Joe. And yeah, man, we forget about this thing. So until next week, we will be back on our normal regular time on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Okay. And the audio will be out for this episode as well as last week. I do apologize. Life been lifing. The audio will be out Friday. Okay. So till that time, y'all, know the work, do the work, watch the results. I'm your boy, Old Man Logan. That's KG over there, the other KG on social media. And this is Hot Take Wrestling Podcast. We'll catch y'all next week.